Hello, I'm Coach John Smith. This is Wrestling 101 for you. This is Chris Pendleton, National Champion. This is Ethan Kyle, 3-year starter for Oklahoma State. Wrestling 101, meaning that you're going to study wrestling and learn it. We're going to show you a series of clips and series of segments on wrestling to help you understand and really appreciate cowboy wrestling. A takedown. A simple takedown, probably the most dominating scoring opportunities in wrestling. It's where you definitely want to be good at. Takedowns determine a lot of matches. A takedown is simply taking your opponent to the mat and getting control of your opponent before the points are awarded. Simple takedown is a double leg. Ethan, take a double leg shot. Going through him, okay, that's 2. When they land, he's got control, meaning that his opponent cannot reverse or escape. There's a single leg, probably the most important takedown there is, and the most popular takedown in the world, from Little League all the way to the Olympians. Single leg is the key most important takedown there is. Single legs coming around, scoring, takedown. A takedown is worth 2 points. Keep in mind, a takedown is when you get control. You don't always have to shoot. The takedown can also be scored on sprawling and countering your opponent. Chris Pendleton takes a shot. Ethan sprawls, goes around. That's 2 takedowns. So takedown can be both offense or defense. Okay? And keep in mind, the majority of takedowns in a match normally will determine the winner. Referee's position is a position of at the end of the first period, or if there's a takedown in the first and they go out of bounds and somebody ends up getting taken down and they go out of bounds with the top man still in control. They return back to the middle in what we call referee's position. Referee's position simply on your hands and knees. You've got 2 lines, which we don't have. You'll see them back here, but 2 lines where you have to have your hands over and your knees behind. Now, the top man will come on. When he comes on, it's real important that he takes the waist first, wraps with the waist, and the hand follows on the elbow. Normally, the official's going to wait a full second before he blows the whistle. And when the whistle blows, they start competing. This is what we call referee's position. An escape is worth 1 point. Escape, it means that when Chris goes to wrestle, he can do it from a low level or he can come to his feet. But it's when you separate from your opponent and you end up on your feet, he's awarded 1 point. And Chris is going to show you an escape. Go. Worth 1 point. He can do low level. An escape from low level. Worth 1 point. So, a lot of times, if you think about it, the takedown, why it's so important, it's worth 2 points. The escape is worth 1 point. So if you can take your man down, you're going to win matches. The reversal is anytime we take our opponent from bottom, man on the bottom, ends up reversing his opponent and ends up controlling him on top. This is ground wrestling. It's on the ground. Okay? Chris, one of the most popular reversals is a switch. Chris is going to switch, score, come over, take control. That is worth 2 points. Reversal is worth 2 points and allows the opponent to be able to score immediately and take control. In the top position, the only way the top opponent can score is either by a riding time point, meaning that he rides his opponent 1 minute or longer. Okay? Now let me explain that. Riding time. If Chris Pendleton's on top and he rides for 20 seconds in a match, Ethan Kyle's on top and he rides for 40 seconds. That's a total of 20 seconds. 40 minus 20, okay, equals 20 seconds. You have to have a total of 1 minute at the end of the match and you're awarded 1 point. Okay? Other ways of scoring on top is turns. Most popular and the most decisive win there is a pin or turning your opponent. Okay? And there's 2 different scenarios in the turn. There's what we call a 2-point tilt and there's a 3-point tilt. A 2-point tilt is when you hold your opponent on his back when he breaks the 90-degree level. Okay? He holds him there for 2 seconds. It's worth 2 points. Okay? The 3-point exposure is when you hold your opponent on his back for 5 seconds. You're rewarded 3 points. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and 4 seconds, remember, is still only 2 points. Five seconds, you get the 3 points. 4 seconds, you go back down and only awarded 2 points. Here's a scenario with it. Cheap tilt. Tilts him up. Now, notice that Chris Pendleton has broken the 90-degree level with his shoulder. Okay? And by breaking that 90-degree, you're going to see the official counting. 1,001, 1,002. He goes back to his base here. Okay? With that 2-second count, obviously, you're awarded 2 points. If there's only a 1-second count and Pendleton flips back to his base, okay, there's no points awarded. The key here is to make sure that we hold that guy. Let's go again. We hold the position, 1,001, 1,002, 3, 4, 5. It's awarded 3 points, okay? So that's the ultimate. That's what we're looking for. And it's extremely hard, and what we got to understand in college wrestling, it's hard to hold a man on his back. So that's why the points are awarded for doing it. There's great strategy on bottom and top in college wrestling. You got two men that are very strong most of the time. It's very hard to hold a man down on the mat, okay? Especially a wrestler that's got experience. So there's a great challenge in it. But the challenge is to make sure that we take control of our opponent. A lot of techniques go into this to be able to hold a man, as well as on the bottom, there's a lot of skill and technique that's involved to be able to get an escape or reversal. It's real simple. The scoring points are takedown is worth 2, a reversal is worth 2, escape is worth 1, a near fall, 2-second near fall is worth 2, and a 5-second near fall is worth 3. And that's really for if you're just starting to learn wrestling or you're coming to your first match, there's really 5 opportunities to score, okay, in the wrestling match. Of course, the riding time point does not get awarded until at the end of the match if an opponent has more than 1 minute of riding time after comparing the 2 riding times. The one thing that makes riding tough is that you cannot lock your hands. Anytime your opponent is on his knees or touching a hand on the mat and we lock hands, okay, this is what we call a penalty point. The bottom man is awarded 1 point. The reason is it makes it much fairer in this athlete to be able to come off bottom. If we had lock hands in wrestling, we would see a lot of mat wrestling. And we would see a lot of guys really struggling to get off the mat. So they've taken the lock hands away, and it's been out of wrestling for a long time. At one time in wrestling, lock hands was legal. Now it is illegal. Okay? Come up, Chris, stand up. Anytime this guy stands up from the referee's position and these two are wrestling, he can lock his hands. Okay? The only time he cannot lock is if he's on a knee or he's touching a hand. Stand up, touch a hand, okay? You cannot lock. But when he stands up, okay, he's got to lock. For him to hang on, hold on, he's going to have to put him in the air, do a couple different techniques to put him back to the mat. Go ahead. And as soon as he hits, okay, he must release his lock. If he remains locked, okay, it's a penalty point. Now, there's a time that they allow laps. I mean, it's a short time. If I'm lifting the guy up and I'm taking him back to the mat and my hands are locked for half a second and then I release, normally the official's going to be pretty generous with that and allow that reaction time to occur.